Hello and welcome to Talking Dirty with BICSc. My name's Di, and it's lovely to welcome you all today. And apologies for the slight delay. We had a bit of a technical issue that we're dealing with. So firstly, I would like to introduce the team today. We have Denise, who will join us shortly, who is our commercial director. We have Kelsey, who's our technical manager, and we have Neil, who's our group MD. So a bit of housekeeping before we start and while we're still admitting people. Your mics and cameras are off. This is to allow the team to answer all the questions. And the meeting, this webinar is being recorded and will be on our website shortly. Once the webinar is finished. So thank you to all of you that submitted questions. We had some great ones this time, and they've been passed out to the team. So with that, I would like to, I think we've let everybody in now that's waiting. I'd like to hand over to Neil.
Good morning, all. It is just good morning. Welcome to the latest edition of Talking Dirty with BICSc. This is our third one in this format. We keep getting lots and lots of questions from yourselves. We've had over 200 people register for this, which means there's 200 questions for us to try and get through as many as we possibly can. Please let me start by apologising if we do not get to your questions. We will do our utmost to get to as many of them as we can. We've all been introduced. I'm not going to re-go over who we all are, but I will start. I've got a few questions I just want to get out of the way, and I'm going to start with a question about the London living wage. So it's a two-part question. What would you say to a customer who does not want to pay London living wage in London, in the M25? And should cleaning companies not tender for work paying less than London living wage? I'll start by answering this one. I'll ask the others if they've got anything to add afterwards. We are a living wage supporter. We are a member of the living wage. Our policy is we would pay the London living wage, and we would only pay the London living wage. We cannot tell you what to do as a business. What you do as a business is your choice. And if you want to say, you're not going to work for less than the London living wage in London, that's your option. Our policy would be we wouldn't, but that's BICSc's policy, not your company's, and we're not in a position to tell you one way or the other what you should or shouldn't do. Kelsey, do you have anything to add to that?
Nothing from me. I'm a believer in the living wage. Our people need to earn a reasonable salary to do the job that they do. So I agree with you, Neil.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's about general respect at the end of the day. Obviously, we can't dictate, but what I would say is if you truly want the industry to go in the right direction and you truly respect the staff that we have, then I would try my hardest to put everything that we could do in place to ensure that the people that keep everybody else safe in the outside world are paid accordingly.
Okay, so we'll now move on to an actual cleaning topic. The question reads, chemicals for cleaning showers in the accommodation block. Who wants to start with that one?
You know how to treat a girl, don't you? Basically, it depends whereabouts you are in the country or the world, because it depends if you're just coping with body fats or if you're coping with a limescale build-up. I would always recommend some form of disinfectant because of what you're cleaning and the areas you're cleaning in. But basically, it will depend on your water hardness and the area you're cleaning in.
So are you talking for that a multi-product that attacks limescale and body fats all in one, or are you talking a number of?
It will depend on how bad the scale is. So you can get products that will actually deal with both. You can also get products that are specific to the body fats or the lime scale. So how bad is the area you're cleaning? What is your biggest problem in there? And then target that to actually clean, and then use a product that will actually keep them in abeyance rather than having to deal with the build-ups.
Kelsey, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think obviously understanding where you are, what you actually want to get rid of, and also sort of as we move forward into a more sustainable sort of viewpoint outside as well, what the place that you're actually cleaning, whether it's a company policy or the goals of your business itself, if you are moving to a more green or sustainable cleaning output, then also looking at the products that fit into that and being sure not to fall into the greenwashing and the chemical free claims. If you want to go on more of a natural route, then follow that, but it does start with, as always, understanding what you're actually trying to just resolve, and also understanding what the aims are of your business at the time as well.
And can we also just add, please be aware of what chemicals work with which surfaces. So if you've got chrome and stainless steel in that area, you want to be careful with some limescale removers, because you don't want to burn the surfaces, you don't want to damage them. So look at the areas as well as the products.
Okay, I'm staying in bathrooms, and I'm staying with an area that I can imagine the faces that are going to be pulled when I ask this question. We've had a number of questions about mould. One of them is how to remove black mould from showers. The other one is how to prevent them coming back. So rather than do them separately, Kel, should we start with you this time, seeing as I dropped this on Dee last time?
I'm going to start with my normal rant that I go on I'll go on the prevention route first. So a lot of the times we're not very good at the whole letting the room breathe. So it is all about proper ventilation beforehand, not just creating ourselves a lovely little breeding area for mold, which obviously is hard from a client side of things because we can't always, as much as we want to, and I know that Denise has referenced her baseball bat before, but dictate to clients about opening doors, letting rooms, buildings breathe. But a great part of prevention is actually allowing airflow through, not just leaving it in a lockbox. In terms of preventing mold after it's happened, or should I say getting rid of it, it's a great question. So angers the very living out of me. It's one of the hardest things to get rid of. But again, it is to do with surface type as well. There's a lot of claims out there from different chemical companies and different manufacturers that will solve all issues. But I think I'll go on the preventative and the always being careful, because that seems to be my stake. But again, ensuring that whatever you do use actually does work on the surface type that you have. And again, allowing the product to do its job, not just mixing 50 million products that you think are all going to fix things. And actually understanding whether you're trying to get rid of it, trying to clean it, or whether the product you're using is simply going to die the problem and make it look like it's gone away, is also something to be really careful about.
There's a lot of the products out there that say you may need more than one application. What's your thought pattern on that?
I think, follow what it says, follow the manufacturer's guidance, but actually allowing contact time and not just applying it and hoping for miracles to happen. But again, not giving up. Even if you take it away from mold into something like a descaler, a lot of the time people apply and think, God, it's not worked after 30 seconds. I'm going to throw a load more on it. So actually understanding the manufacturer's guidance. And if it is a case of a longer period, then that's what you're going to have to do.
Hey.
It is generally proprietary products that deal with mould. They're not on the pleasant end. They're certainly not on the green end. But I completely agree with Kelsey. Prevention is better than cure. Being able to ventilate the areas, being able to get airflow around, it's so important to actually stopping the mould rather than dealing with it. It's also an awful lot more pleasant for the operative not to have to deal with it, because they are going to be on that harsh end of the chemical scale if they're actually trying to get rid of it.
Just to also put out there are specialists in the mould area, people like the, I think it's called the mould doctor. If you do look for specialists, if you do have a serious mould problem, there are specialists that can deal with it for you. In terms of, there is one other question on mould, and I think Dee's more or less answered it, but I'm going to put it to you. Is there a way of removing mould that is less, that doesn't involve using a harsh chemical?
The only way I've done that is to remove the mastic when the mould's been in the mastic and remastic, which isn't always an answer, but it means that you're not using some of the products that will deal with the issue. And as you said, if you are in doubt, calling the specialists out is never a bad move.
Anything to add on that, or do I move on from mould? Okay, right. The next question is a question we have had before, but I am going to bring it up. How many organisations use the BICSc method of cleaning? As it's very time consuming, and if you need to complete cleaning tasks within a certain time frame, is it practically possible to do this using the BICSc method? They call it mythology. I would think they mean methodology. It's not a myth. First and foremost, there are hundreds of organisations that are using BICSc methodology out there. I'm going to hand over to one of the other two to get into the time consuming and how it works best. And rather than pick, who's the volunteer to go first?
I don't mind going first.
Okay, go for it.
I will get on my hobby horse here, guys. I was a cleaning contractor for an awful lot of years. Every one of my staff was trained and qualified to BICSc. I didn't do that to donate money to BICSc. I did that because it made it effective and it made it efficient. Now, if you're looking at the BICSc training, that is a different thing to actually cleaning with BICSc. BICSc training repeats the methodology. It's a repetitive way of actually making sure the operative understands what we mean. That isn't cleaning to BICSc, that's training to BICSc. If you'd like to clean to BICSc, then I suggest you look at some of our rolled skills, which actually give you the methodology as well as the practical. And we know that training takes longer than cleaning, but actually cleaning to the BICSc methods, I always found extremely efficient and actually cost saving. So it's not a myth if you do it properly. I will now step back off my hobby horse and hand over to Kelsey.
Yeah, I'll climb onto that. I think it's really key to understand. I think even if we take the skills and stuff, it is a methodology and it is training. There's a lot of practice in there. And as much as I would absolutely love to see walking around a site, cleaning operatives, speaking out loud about dynamic risk assessments or, going, talking through what they're doing, it's not actually what we do in practice. If we take a skill, for example, as one of our training courses, from the start, they'll learn how to, if it's a chemical based skill, learn how to dilute the chemical properly and go from the cleaning cupboard. Now, clearly, they're not going to do that every single time they go to wipe a table or wipe a surface, or the same when they're using a machine. So it is about that repetition of practice and getting best practice in there. The actual cleaning within the skill that we do does not take long at all. And again, if I don't think a cleaning operative is going to, be talking through or be taking it so systematically when they are actually in the area. And again, the rolled skills are a really great way of showing how this works in practice. And it's not just something that we have obviously the rolled skills out there to show how these multiple skills apply into a scenario. But a lot of the skills that we do actually have are just applied to an area. So it's really key to actually look at the training that you're getting. You're not just learning how to clean the room. As part of every single skill that we have, we're also teaching people how to set themselves up at the start of their shift and put things away at the end of their shift as part of that skill. So the actual core bit is what you need to think about. And again, it is training. Training does take longer. I mean, the amount, if you think about it, liken it to learning how to drive a car, the amount of time you spend learning how to change gears or learning how to reverse is a lot more than the time that maneuver actually takes. It's training, it's getting it so it's habitual in somebody's mind.
And also part of the training, is the fact that they take everything with them. So how often do your staff go back to the cleaning cupboard because they've forgotten something? How often do they walk down 26 flights of stairs to go back to the basement cupboard? The whole idea about BICSc training is to make them effective and efficient and to make the cleaning possible in one phase rather than up and down, up and down, up and down.
I'd like to just share with you all, we are currently in a major review of CPSS. We are looking at it as a forward-thinking way of cleaning. Exactly what that will be at the moment, the process has only just started, is yet to be decided and released, but we are looking at it differently. We are going to look at how we can make it even more efficient for you as businesses, but watch this space, it will be a 2027 release. Okay, so we've gone through the myth of BICSc. So I'm just going to run down these questions. They come thick and fast in very different categories, so I'm just going to run down them now. What is your recommended method to remove limescale from floors without using chemicals?
What's your floor type? We need to know what floor type it is. We need to know how it would react if you use something like diamond pads. But generally speaking, limescale is required to break, a product is required to break the limescale down. So why are you trying to use no product to remove something?
Anything to add, Kelsey?
Yeah, I think I'm not going to go on the usual rant of chemical covers a wide range of things, not just a product that we can buy. But yeah, obviously it's just like we said before with products in a washroom or bathroom area, especially with descaling. Knowing what surface type you're actually wanting to remove it from, and also again an understanding of whether you mean chemical free or whether you want a natural solution. And yeah, you can use diamond pads. In many cases, you can use steam cleaning, but there's still going to be an element of chemical there.
Okay, I think there isn't really a way to remove limescale from floors without chemical looking at it, but make sure you know what your floor type is and make sure you know what the impact on your floor will be. Okay, the next question is, what's the best way to transition from an input to an output spec? I'm not sure if this comes from a contractor or a client, but if you're a contractor, the decision for whether it's an input or output spec comes from your client, and it will be part of your contract. If they are changing from one to the other, that is a contract change, and that needs agreement from both parties. But I would suggest you get legal advice if somebody's trying to change from one to the other. If it's a client making the change, then the client is either renewing a contract or they're making an old contract void. And again, I would advise legal advice on that. But anything to add from either of my two colleagues?
Make sure you understand what's driving that change. Make sure you understand what they've asked for. So if they're moving to output spec, what specification are they what standard are they specifying? So it's actually understanding what the driving force is behind that, and then what the standard is that you're expected to receive or achieve even. I'll put my teeth back in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think understanding that scope, of what is actually expected. The driving change is really important, especially to move from an input to an output. I think is a lot harder to, I don't want to say move backwards, but to move into a less definitive specification, so to speak. But yeah, understanding the driving change, but understanding the actual requirement. I mean, what we see a lot in output specs is great overarching terms being used where people think just because you're not saying you're going to clean something once a day anymore, they can add in loads more expectations. So ensuring, obviously, seeking legal advice on things like that for contractual changes, but understanding what that actually means to your output. in terms of how much extra input or less input are you actually going to have to. There's a lot of words of input and output here, but we're going to go with it. Understanding what your input is now in order to achieve that output, whether it goes up or goes down, and what that actually means to the greater part of the contract that you have.
Yeah, and I'd also say if you move in that way, what is acceptable between cleans?
Mm-hmm.
Or does the client actually expect, and I have seen this, somebody to be there literally on the hour cleaning that area because it was output that it should always be clean. So really understand what's acceptable between the cleaning programme as well.
I think the thing that you need to take on board from all of this, if you are changing a contract or a change in contract is being instilled on you, you need to take control of that in terms of what am I going to charge for this change? You can't just carry on at exactly the same as it was. You need to know whether, as Kelsey was saying, and I'll use different words to try and help, you need to know how much work you're going to have to do to keep up with what you were doing and how much work you're going to need to have to do to keep up with what they're expecting now. And again, that could go up and down, but you need to be clear on that and you need to make sure you are charging the right amount for it. Is that what you were saying, Kels? In terms of work,
with a lot more input, outputs and
yeah. Okay, and we've had a couple of questions coming back to the flooring. So we've several types of flooring: red tiles, vinous, porous tiles, and they have very hard water, and limescale is a real problem. I fully appreciate and thank you for that. Vinyl, we could probably give you the answer for, but in terms of the red tiles and the porous tiles, we still need to know the type of tiles to be able to give you any major indication on that. What are they made of? And then the other, changing rooms of a leisure centre, again, the flooring in there, it does depend on the floor type. But I think we've answered that. But just to tell you that we are watching the chat, just to give you a bit of information on that. Right, moving on, the next question is very simple. What courses are available in the UAE? All of our courses are available in the UAE, either online for our Clean Logic, or some of our cleaning training is available online. If not, we do have a partner in UAE called SaveFast, which we will get a link dropped into the chat for you. SaveFast are actually based in Dubai, and they will be able to help you face-to-face training. Otherwise, there's the online, and everything we do in the UK is available in the UAE. Right, when assessing an existing school cleaning set, how flexible should productivity rates be against BICSc benchmarks to reflect real life factors such as pupil movement, safeguarding restrictions, split shifts and specialist areas? Kelsey, do you want to jump on your soapbox for this one?
Okay, so if we take the productivity, the productivities that we use in BICSc standards and best practice, there are loads of caveats in there that we actually talk about, of which you should judge things from. So that can range from how clear the area is, how cluttered it is, setup times for the operatives, fatigue levels have also been mentioned. And again, what you're actually dealing with outside. You also need to allow for the equipment that you're using. So if you're going back to when Adam was a lad and using equipment that isn't very innovative, and means that, we're not getting the highest level of efficiency out of the staff, that also needs to be taken into consideration. So my best advice for that would be to look in BICSc standards and best practice. Get in touch. If you are a member, you do have access to it, and have a read through of all of the different things that are in there. There are recommendations on how you can calculate that as well. But again, ask the question, and if in doubt, time it. Time how long it takes your operatives with your equipment to set themselves up. Time how long it's taken them with the dolly mop instead of using a scrubber dryer or anything else that they may have access to. And look at other things. As much as I'd love to believe on, let's say, a 200-person site that a quarter of them aren't going to go out for a cigarette break 4 times a day during their shift. That's still going to happen. So it's allowing for all of those different operational things. And again, it is written into BICSc standards of best practice. I think a lot of the time we get these lovely rounded values and think, great, I'll apply that. But you need to allow for not only your policies that are in place, the equipment that's in place, but also what is actually going on site. You know, a lot of the times we forget things like how many times is an operative going to be stopped to be asked a question? How long is the walk that they've got from their cleaning cupboard out to the place where they're actually cleaning? If they're cleaning across a large campus or a large school site, what is the actual area that they have to cover? Are they walking from building A that's a third of a mile away to building C? So there are lots of different caveats, and it is in BICSc standards and best practice. And we also have some lovely courses. There's a little plug. That's my plug done. But there are some great courses on the virtual training suite as well that go through all of those different types considerations that we need to think of for productivity. But in terms of productivity levels, a lot of the time, the timings that we're given or the meterage per hour that we're given are cleaning time, not non-cleaning time.
Anything to add?
Just to say to that, it is cleaning time, and we do it in 2 different ways. We do a compound room rate, so we do a junior secondary school, a nursery, and we also do a room rate that gives you things like domestic science areas, classrooms, corridors, toilets. So what detail are you going into? But as Kelsey said, what kit have you given your staff? What training have you given your staff? How far are they walking? Without those considerations, your compound room rates really don't mean a lot.
I think from my perspective, compound room rates are about having the best scenario to clean in, and being able to, that's what you can achieve with the best scenario. But we do, like everyone's saying, we caveat that with, we can't do productivity rates for every area in every scenario, because every building is different. Every scenario is different. You are the ones that will need to adjust that to allow for what happens in your building. Do you clean outside of hours? Do you clean during? Do you clean in the dark? Do you clean in daylight? All these things have an effect, and I think there is no physical possible way we can cover productivity rates for every single scenario there is out there, but you can.
Yeah, and
Okay.
Can I just say,
Sorry.
Kelsey said earlier, I was a contractor. I had 2 identical schools built off the same plan. One took 45% longer than the other one. The difference was one opened every door onto grass and allowed the children to use those doors. The other school had one main entrance, and the children came in, got the dirt off their feet and went to class. And it made that much difference. So it's also the physical surrounding of the buildings, which, as Kelsey mentioned, is covered on one of our courses, as well as actually what you're giving them and how they're working.
Okay. Next question was mould, and we've done that. Do you see the digital cleaning license as a way forward for the industry? I think they're going to push that one to me, so I'll answer that. We do think it has a benefit to the industry. We are going to, at some point in the future, all end up on a digital license, whether we like it or not, whether that's our digital ID. It's happening. You get that now from the NHS. All your information's on there. The Gov1 app is now also moving in that direction. I renewed my driving licence at the weekend, totally online. They've got all the details. It linked to my passport. It's getting there. It's only going to be a matter of time before it becomes a thing. But we do believe in the digital cleaning licence, and as such, later in the year, every LTP issued will come with a free digital cleaning licence for the candidate that has passed their LTP. We're doing it to assist the industry in moving it forward. Exactly how and what we're currently in the process of making work, but it will be something we will be issuing as part of our way forward, and working with the way things are going to go in the future. We don't normally comment on products. Our next question is basically, two parts. The first one is about what are our thoughts about concentrated water-soluble cleaning sachets or tablets that dissolve, and they're asking us, are they as good as traditional products? Do either of you have a personal thought on that? Or do I move on and get to the second part of the question? I think that's a no. We'll move on. So the best products and techniques for cleaning lifts. Denise, your turn, I think.
Again, they've said best products, and as you've just said, we don't give a product range. But if I'm honest, what is your lift made of? Is it stainless steel? Is it actually a mirrored lift? Is it glass? What is the content of your lift? I mean, the easy one to say would be use microfiber and water and use it properly. But again, in some ways, that's giving you a product. So really, again, look at what you're actually cleaning and decide your product route.
I'd say in terms of technique, you'd start at dirtiest, start clean to dirty, as we always recommend, which is usually going to be roof down, floor last, because floor is going to be the dirtiest. But in terms of products, I think Denise has covered that. Kels?
Yeah, I think a big one for technique as well is also completely ensuring at all times that you are actually keeping yourself safe. I think even though it's normally a metal box or a mirrored box, it is one of the most dangerous places that we can clean, outside of all of the other problems that may happen in a building. So in terms of technique, at all times making sure that your operatives are safe and not just discounting things. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen poor Henry being dragged up and the cable flying across a reception area, or we're cleaning the high levels within a lift and a load of lovely pests or pests that are no longer with us flying down as we clean the tops. And like sort of already been said, product wise, understanding what it's actually made out of, but if it is stainless steel, ensuring that you have actually got some sort of degreaser in there for any oil or anything like that. Remember, it is a metal box. It could be used by either a lot of people or for more commercial reasons on the back end of stuff. So ensuring that you actually have the right product for the right use of that lift as well is really important. And also cleaning in a way that means the lift can go back into operation in a timely manner. I remember years ago cleaning a lift in the UAE, and it was of paramount importance for anyone that has been out there and you've got 60 floors in a building to get one of two lifts back into operation. So ensuring that you are cleaning in a way that it means that that lift is not out of operation for too long. A lift is used a lot more than a random office. So cleaning in a way and with products or equipment that means that it is done safely is the most important, but it is back in operation.
Yeah, and just remember the touch points, because everybody's going to touch that lift panel. Has everybody washed their hands? Has anybody got anything contagious? And sorry, personal here, please clean out the lift runners. I never get in a lift without looking in the runners, and not many people seem to do that, and they certainly don't seem to clean them.
Okay, we're getting a number of questions about managing unreliable staff, that kind of thing. We aren't HR experts, so our recommendation would be speak to your HR advice people. We do have links with Citation who can work with you on HR advice, but for us, we aren't here to give you HR advice. We're here to give you how to clean advice. How long does it take to finish the course? Which course are you talking about? Sorry, I can't answer that. But our free courses for entry level can take 10 to 15 minutes, up to our supervisor's course, which is you're given a year to do. Obviously, it's not going to take you a full year full time, but we recommend 50 hours over a 12-month period. You can do it obviously a lot quicker if you've got the time to spend on it. So it really does vary. And there's ones in between that vary massively as well. So moving on. I think, how can the cleaning industry move from an activity-based approach to a result-based approach? I think that for me comes to input-output spec. and it really depends on the client. I think there's a lot of the cleaning industry that are now basing themselves on I've lost my train of thought. That's really strange. Basing their reactions on result based. How we move that way, I think it's a mix of client and the contractor. That's my opinion, but I'll pass it on to the other two. Denise?
I'd actually say education for both the client and the contractor, and educating them about what is achievable within what they're asking, because we have all had the client that expects the moon and the stars and isn't willing to pay you for any of them. So it's also about setting expectation and what can be achieved reasonably.
Okay, Kelsey, I'm going to move on to the next question because I know this. Which cleaning methods or habits do you think should be re-examined critically today, even if they've been taught for years?
Is not moving with the times a cleaning habit? Because I think it is. I think, you know, we're part of an amazing industry that creates innovation every day, but the take up on this innovation is still not where it's supposed to be. And actually, this is great because it links to what I was going to answer for the last one, so I'll tie them both in together.
Or might.
I think communication of the new products, and actually, you know, not dismissing something because you believe that people aren't going to uptake it without actually communicating things that are out there. I think, as we always, you know, it's human habit to go back to doing things the way that we always did them. But there are literally things created to make our own lives easier, things that will help, you know, with the missing workforce that we have. And I didn't want to bring that up, but we've brought it up now. We'll go on to the next point. Things that will actually, you know, get the most out of the areas that we are cleaning, that will actually perform better than old methods that we have. So I think cleaning habits of not integrating new equipment, new innovation, because we're scared that Kelsey, the cleaning operative that's cleaned with a dolly mop for years, won't uptake it. It's education, like we've said, and it is communication, and also looking, not dismissing not only new equipment but new products that are out there, because we believe that because it's natural, it's not going to do the same job. Actually trialing things and not dismissing is probably one of the biggest factors that we don't do as an industry. Allowing ourselves to learn, it's the only way we're all going to move forward together. So making the most out of the manufacturers, the suppliers that we have out there, actually trialing products and actually allowing our staff to not dictate what they want, but give them a choice and a chance to experience all of the amazing things that we see out there.
Okay, the next one I'm giving to Dee. How much does the cleaning result actually depend on the cleanliness of the cloth and its level of moisture?
Again, there's so many different types of cloth, and there's so many different types of cleaning with that cloth. So if you're going to use a cloth that is saturated with bacteria across the surface, then you're going to spread that bacteria rather than clean it off. So what cloth are you using? Are you using it with product? If you're using microfiber, please be aware that microfiber is not just a cloth, it's a system. And so many people fall into the habit of using microfiber as any other cloth. It isn't. It has either 8 or 4 working sides. And once you've exhausted those sides, it goes into the laundry. It's about actually teaching people, and so they understand why. And part of, as Kelsey just said, if you involve your staff in trying to try something new, if you let them really understand it and use it, that's the best feedback you're going to get about how you move forward. Because if somebody shows me something that makes my life easier, I'm going to adopt it.
Okay, I'm going to move on to another set of questions. Have you looked into, or what do you believe the impact of AI will be on the number and type of buildings that we will clean in the future? I don't think we've got any. I don't think AI has any major impact on the type of buildings we're cleaning in the future. I think there will be the only potential there is there'll be a higher proportion of server type areas to cope with the AI. Potentially, it might just be. They may become smaller. It's very difficult. It's not my area. However, the impact of AI may mean there's less office spaces, there's less used spaces. How long is a piece of string? But AI will affect it, but I can't tell you exactly how. I can make assumptions. I don't know if either of you want to come in on that.
No, I think with how with how demanding the AI is that I use, I'm expecting it to want a whole suite to itself. So no, I do think in the future we will move to more server-based buildings and away from office spaces. But again, who knows? We don't know how far it's going to go at the moment, as much as we all might want to know.
I think it's very much a watch this space.
Okay, right. Another favourite topic, how do we ensure that our cleaning inspections of the end of a contract aren't subjective? I'm going to caveat that with, if you're just doing it at the end of the contract, why haven't you been doing it through the whole period of the contract anyway, and dealt with the subjectivity at the beginning? But I'll hand over to two audit experts that do them a lot to answer that. First,
I'll go.
Go on then, Kelsey.
So having clear expectations of, you know, what your spec is, input, output. I'm not going to say those two words ever again, I don't think, after this. Understanding your scope of works, understanding the requirements that are in place, but also the actual tool that you're using, whether it's a set of questions, you know, that you've got down on paper, or whether you're moving to a more digital approach. Actually having set questions, not just whatever somebody fancies checking that day. It's also a really great idea to have both a technical sort of side and an efficacy-based side, so that you are doing a cleaning inspection, but you also have evidence there for the reasons why the cleaning standard is how it is. Also having an understanding of what a pass rate is, and that just because something's not scored 100% does not mean that it's clean. The worst thing in the world is to see somebody say that they've had 100% for the past 5 years. Not a chance. So understanding an assurance quality level, and again, understanding what is acceptable between cleans. It may be at the end of a contract, but you're still going to be in a period of things being in between cleans, no matter when it is. So setting really clear assurance quality levels in place, pass marks in place, the spec of which you're supposed to have been cleaning at, and also being really transparent when you're there about the staffing levels that you've had, any things that have been happening on site at the time. Everything comes into Boundary River, but the biggest way to not be subjective is to actually have a clear marking scheme that you are working towards, not just, one ledge checked in that room because the client knows that it's dirty, or you checking the 5 chairs that you know were cleaned 10 minutes ago. So having really clear, transparent marking scheme that you're following, and again, a tool that's actually useful, that you can actually spot things on, and you can actually measure against. And like Neil said before, obviously part of that now, and if you are planning towards the end of that, is to audit as much as you possibly can and inspect as much as you possibly can, to ensure that, you didn't start off and it was sat at 70% and now it's at 40%. To actually be able to track it all the way through allows you to have a full story, not just somebody that may have, you might have a really nice ending to a contract, but it's more likely going to be that someone's looking at the negative side of the scale.
I think for me, the questions are key. Cleaning hygiene app from BICSc is free to download. It gives you the questions, and subjectivity is very difficult, particularly if somebody's looking for a reason why you're going to fail. But if you've got the specification and you can judge fairly, it's, as Kelsey said, it's not just about the inspection of what you've achieved. That audit should tell you how you've achieved it. So are the periodics in place? Are the different formats? you know, how does the staff look? Are they nicely dressed, or is their tabard hanging together with a safety pin on one shoulder? What is actually happening to deliver that service rather than just the end result? And being fair about what you're looking at. So, as she just said, not just one ledge. If you're doing a building, look at a range within each building that you're actually checking.
I think one of the things we teach in cleaning inspections is I personally would advise early on in any contract, you do your cleaning inspection with your client, and you go round and you find out what they think is acceptable, and you make an agreement on what is acceptable, and then you know what's expected from the beginning. If they're turning around and saying something that's not in the contract, that's a discussion point, but you know that from the beginning is an issue to start from. But communication is key to most things, and really is between client and contractor. That is important for me in auditing. Okay, we're getting loads of questions in. I mean, the flooring question we're being said, they're saying it's ceramic and porcelain, and I don't really want to go back to that, but anything quick we can say on cleaning limescale off ceramic or porcelain? And I mean quick, because we've got so much to get through and about 13 minutes left.
You're really looking at a product, and you are looking at a product to take limescale off those surfaces.
Okay, we're also being asked, do we recommend or provide a standardised list of cleaning chemicals or products specifically for school environments? We don't recommend products. We'll tell you the makeup of the type of product, like a limescale remover, a disinfectant, that kind of thing, but we will not give you brands. If you want recommendation on brands, I would suggest you talk to the CHSA. They will actually be able to give you recommendations for chemicals and people that you can go to in terms of that. Right, back to questions. Somebody's put business insurance. We talk to an insurance broker. We do partner with Darwin Clayton. It's one of our member benefits. Go and have a look if you're a member. If not, go and have a look for Darwin Clayton. They are a very reputable insurance company in the cleaning industry. Do you think longer contract terms, 5 to 10 years, are good or bad for the cleaning supplier? Very difficult to answer that one personally. Dee, as an ex-supplier, what would you say?
It actually allows you to write off your equipment. You can put better or longer living equipment into that site. If you've only got 12 months, it's very difficult to justify a £26,000 scrubber dryer. If I've got 5 to 10 years, I can justify the equipment, the product spend, maybe to put in a microfiber system and a proper washing system. It depends what you're going to do within that time, but it does give you as a supplier the objectivity of, I've got 5 years, I can spread the costs over that.
Okay, colour coding, here we go. Why in colour coding are more colours not introduced, i.e. are a colour to be used while cleaning the dirtiest areas in a common area? Who wants that first?
Back out with the soapbox. sorry, Kels, I'll let you get in on this one. It would be nice to have a colour coding system that was nationally recognised, internationally recognised. We do give colour coding. We say there's an additional colour that you can use for specific areas. I think it would actually get quite confusing if you said, well, we're going to go with a light blue if it's not too dirty and a dark blue if it is, particularly as those colours would change as you wash them.
I think I'll join the soapbox here and say that I can guarantee that everybody on this call does not follow the same colour coding. As much as it would be lovely to believe that we all do, or that people, you know, in general actually follow colour coding, let's take our rose-tinted glasses off and just say that most people don't even have 4 different sets. So to actually implement more outside of that, I think is going a bit too far past getting the basics right first. I think as well we need to recognise the fact that the colour coding system that a lot of us use, the blue, red, green, yellows, are actually in place for people that, you know, can't recognise colours, have colour blindness and stuff like that. So to introduce colours outside of that, or shades, can actually become even less inclusive in terms of us as an industry trying to implement a colour coding system. Obviously, you can have site-specific things, and if you are going to use the dirty areas, just for your own sanity and for laundry purposes, I would possibly try and get a darker coloured cloth if you are going to dirty areas, especially for like heavy soilage. But again, for ease of use, and let's face it, we all talk about efficiency. Do you really want people getting ready a whole new set of equipment for different areas? And money, if you can get your customers to buy into the fact that you want to introduce a rainbow of colours for cleaning with, then absolutely go for it. But I think for ease and for an industry trying to move forward, where we're trying to get it, you know, legislative that there is a colour coding system to be followed, I think if we try and get on board with everybody using the same standard first, that would be great.
Okay, I'm going to jump to the chat in a minute, but I want to come straight onto this. How to apply cleaning procedures properly within limited contract hours. This for me is back to basics. Know what you're cleaning, know what the expected outcome is. Fine, make sure your staff are trained, make sure you have the right equipment for the space. We've talked about using a dolly mop in a sports hall instead of a scrubber dryer, stroke robot. It's not going to, if you've got limited hours, use a robot. Make that for you. Make that decision for you. For me, right equipment, right tools, train people, keep it simple. Any addition to that quickly before I jump onto the couple of questions from the chat? And if you do that as well, you're actually working very sustainably. We mix sustainability up with environmentally friendly, but sustainability is about making it as efficient and effective and as green as possible. And back to basics can sometimes be that. Right, in the chat, we've had a question from Imran. Why do contractors feel that third-party contract managers have less knowledge as compared to them? Aren't the managers on the vendor side? Do they not have more attention to detail to their roles? Are they the ones who inspect and find a lot of defects on the contractor side? Your thoughts on that? I think we kind of address this in terms of communication and talking to these people. And I think we addressed part of that on audits. I think it's very difficult for us to comment one way or the other on this. But if my colleagues have anything to add, please do.
I would just add collaboration. Rather than setting people against each other or setting yourself against a contractor, collaboration will get a much better result for everybody.
I think it's a communication thing for me. You need to have that level of communication, and you need to have an open and honest discussion and be able to do it calmly. But that's my feeling on that. We also have a question from Napoleon in Romania. Can the courses be translated into another language? We do not. We keep all our courses in English, unfortunately, or fortunately for us, because how many languages are there out there? And with the language translation tools that are available free to everybody nowadays on smartphones and tablets, you can do it very easily for yourselves. I think I've covered all the questions that Di hasn't answered automatically within the chat. Di's given some links out and some information out for what we've been saying. So I'm going to jump back in and I'm going to finish. We've got 5 minutes and I'm going to finish with AI. Are there any AI-powered or sensor-based technologies currently available that can monitor washroom hygiene in real time, such as detecting bacteria levels or assessing cleanliness of the condition of each toilet and urinal? Who's taking it first? That's the first part of the question.
Okay, there are some systems that are out there at the moment that say they can identify full bins, they can identify spillages. Whether they could identify bacterial count is doubtful at the moment. But in reality, most of the systems that are there count the amount of people that go in, so you know how many people have used the space. It's ever changing. So yes, AI is there. Yes, it's starting to be adapted. But please bear in mind, they will need to link generally to the Wi-Fi of the building. Not every client is happy for that. And they will also need to be able to download data. And again, sometimes there can be client resistance to what data they're downloading.
Else, anything to add?
No, I think if you are using those systems, then great, moving with the way forward of the industry, the future of the industry. But again, do not forget training along the way. It's great having these processes and systems in place. They give us so much data. It's important that you take the data that you actually need and don't just, confuse it all up. But also, if you are getting information out of this that the waste bin in cubicle C doesn't need changing, ensuring that staff are actually communicated with, that they don't need to do that. If you're actually trying to create a more efficient, cost-effective process out of that, is how it's going to work for people. It's okay getting all of this data, but ensuring that the people that actually can actually be impacted positively from this data are communicated with is key.
I think if I talk about AI at all, there's a lot more questions about it, and I'm not going to go any deeper. We've got 3 minutes left, and I do want to wrap up. AI is going to be very useful in the data generation and the data analytics going forward. And I think as an industry, we are lacking in data analysts. We're lacking in people that can take that data and pick the key information. And it's what key information is used and how it's communicated. I think AI will make massive difference if we pick the relevant and useful data, and if it's communicated effectively with the people that need to action stuff after it. And I think that for me is where AI will make a difference for us and make us much more efficient. We already know that the speak properly, sensor technology, we've had nobody in that meeting room all day today. There's no point in cleaning it tomorrow, is making us more efficient in that kind of areas. With the washroom data, it should be making us more efficient, but is it getting to the cleaning up? And is the cleaning up, we also have to not break the routines of the cleaning up. We also have to get the cleaning operatives to think differently, as in, I go in and I clean this floor, which means I'll clean that meeting room whether it's been used or not. But we know it hasn't, so you don't. It's communication, it's management, it's supervision. And with anything new, it's change management. And AI is going to be massively change management for the cleaning industry, and it needs a massive management input, would be my closing remark on that. Right, we're getting a lot of a couple of questions. I mean, we've had a comment, AI software, one glitch in the system and all data is gone. Generally, it's backed up. If you have a good system, there will be a backup, but I'm not getting into that. Somebody asked, is there a calculation software? I think Di's answered that for you. But what we would like to do is we'd like to thank you for joining us. Somebody's asked, is there an email address they can use? If you're a member, there is a help desk email that you can use. Otherwise, we'll be back in 3 months with our next session. Honestly, we do appreciate everything that's come in. I try and group things together so we cover a lot. Some of the questions actually end up covering 4 or 5 when Kelsey and Denise give you answers. We're doing our best to cover everything we can. Hope you have a good rest of your Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. The video will be up on the website probably within the next 24 hours. I hope you've gained at least something from this. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.